Hello, Internet. Welcome back to Box Office Recaps. Adam Lee here and Aaron. And after going through May, June, and July, we reached the month of August, the last month of the summer. Well, to be more accurate, the last month of the Hollywood summer, not the real summer. So I don't want anyone being like, actually, summer doesn't start till June 21st. It don't end till September 23rd. Hey, to those of you who think that, I don't care. Okay? So ignoring that, August. It sucked. Just being brutal with you, just brutally honest. It sucked. It was mostly terrible. Majority of the movies bombed, which does not look good for my predictions. And the movie that I thought would do the best, well, technically it did the best, it still underperformed in quite a big way. And that movie was Hobbs and Shaw, and we're going to go over that first. You're probably like, how did it underperform? It made 160 million domestic, like close to 700 million worldwide. How is this underperforming? And in isolation, yeah, it's a success. But you have to take into account that this is a Fast and Furious movie. Sure, it's a spin-off, but it still has the Fast and Furious name attached to it. So that means there's standards. And this did not meet those standards at all. Because we were looking at the rest of the Fast and Furious movies. It's number 5 out of 9. So it's squarely in the middle. It made less than Fast 5, Fate of the Furious, Fast and Furious 6, and Furious 7. Now everyone knows Fast 5 was the turning point for the series. That's when The Rock was introduced. And that's when it moved away from just solely street racing to being more mainstream, more broad appeal, which led to bigger returns, specifically from Fast and Furious 6 and especially Furious 7. Fate of the Furious saw a bit of a downturn, but that was to be expected because Furious 7 was unfortunately, well, very tragically, boosted by the very tragic death of Paul Walker, and Fate and Furious didn't have that boost. And I originally thought Hobbs and Shaw would at least match Fast 5, because, you know, you got The Rock and Jason Statham, two of the most popular characters in this series, and having these two in a movie sounded like complete genius, like a genius decision. But turns out that just wasn't the case. People just weren't that hyped for it. And in terms of inflation, it's even worse. It's near the bottom. The only movie it beat was the last movie that was considered a spin-off for the Fast and Furious. And that was Tokyo Drift. And that came out over a decade ago. So the fact that Hobbs and Shaw couldn't even match, like, in terms of inflation, it can't even match Fast 2 Furious. That just tells you a lot. And worldwide, it's not that much better. I mean, sure, it made more than Fast 5, but it made less than Fast and Furious 6. It was nowhere near Furious 7 or Fate of the Furious. Those movies made $1 billion overseas by itself. These movies were crazy popular overseas. But again, they just didn't show up. But why is that? Maybe people are just finally getting tired of this series. Maybe it was just not that appealing of a movie, or maybe it wasn't as appealing as they thought it would be. I mean, from what I've heard, people just call this Mission Impossible Light. And if you look at those movies, which I'm going to do right now, really quick, got to get to July. Where is that 60? Yeah, Fallout. It couldn't even match Fallout, which was the latest Mission Impossible movie. In fact, domestically, if we're comparing to Mission Impossible, it couldn't match Fallout, couldn't match Mission Impossible 2, couldn't match Ghost Protocol, couldn't match Rogue Nation, it couldn't match even the original Mission Impossible. So yeah, it fails on that front too. So I'm not going to call this a winner, because it's not. Not by any means. And I know Vin Diesel's probably smiling about this, because everyone knows that him and The Rock have had quite the petty feud about this whole series. But Vin has his own challenge. He has his own test. And that's with Fast and Furious 9 when that comes to theaters next May. And if that movie underperforms, then both of them are going to look like fools. And then the series is going to die out. So if I had to make a suggestion to The Rock and Vin Diesel, I suggest to stop this petty arguing, this petty feud, quit it, get together, get it together, or otherwise your careers are going to take a turn for the worst. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Hobbs and Shaw. The rest of the movies, none of them reached blockbuster levels at all. The closest was Good Boys, and it did pretty decent. I mean, 61 million compared to 20 million budget. It's already made a decent profit, I think. Yeah, this movie, it had a good premise, a decent premise, good execution, good trailers, pretty much good everything. And as a result, the movie succeeded. In fact, it was the first R-rated comedy to open at #1 since The Boss back in 2016. Remember The Boss, which starred Melissa McCarthy, back when she was actually a star? Anywho, yeah, Good Boys, not much to say about it. It's a decent hit. What's next? Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I did not expect this movie to do as well as it did. I thought it looked really cheesy and silly from the trailers. I thought it looked lame as hell. But people really bought into it. It got great reviews, and a lot of people saw it. Well, not a lot, but a decent amount of people. So it made $59 million on a $25 million budget, about $86 million worldwide. Again, it's already made its money back. So yeah, definite hit right here. And not much to say, but was pleasantly surprised by its performance. Next up, Dora. Oof. Man, my prediction does not look good right now. I thought this movie would do better because, Dora, I mean, she's no SpongeBob, but she's still a very iconic character when it comes to Nickelodeon. A lot of people's childhoods, involve Dora in some way or fashion. Everyone remembers the College Humor video with Ariel Winter as Dora. Okay? And a lot of people were making jokes that this was just the Hollywood version of that. But unfortunately, it just didn't click, even despite how insane the whole movie looked. Especially if you read the junior novelization. I've seen some of the pages of that. I've read it. That thing is like someone just smoked a lot of weed, licked a lot of toads, dropped a lot of acid, and was like, okay, time to make a Dora movie. It's beautiful. But, people just didn't watch it. It only made $51 million domestic on a $49 million budget. Nowhere near close to success. Maybe it was because they skewed it way too young. Like, instead of appealing to adults, it appealed solely to kids, and that's a terrible strategy. So any movie that's like, oh, we're just going to appeal to the small kids, don't. That is a recipe for disaster. Okay? Ugly Dolls proved this. The Smurfs proved this. Heck, even Shazam. I know it's completely unrelated, but the problem with that movie and why that movie didn't do as well as it should have is because it marketed itself way too, it skewed way too young. And that's the same problem Dora had. And as a result, no one saw it. So that's a shame. What's next? Angel Has Fallen. And get this, a sequel that's actually done somewhat decent. That's something you can't say that much about in 2019. And Angel Has Fallen, surprisingly, has been doing pretty decent. It's made $47 million on a $40 million budget so far. I haven't seen any overseas numbers, but I think they should be okay. And, yeah. I'm just shocked that this movie did well at all. I'm amazed this trilogy has done well at all. I mean, it started from being a die-hard ripoff to just the same movie but in London, and now just a completely different movie, just like the Taken series in a weird way. But I'm just amazed it's doing well at all periods, because it just looked kind of terrible. But hey, people like what they like. Okay, time for bombs. The biggest bomb of August, in my opinion. Angry Birds 2. This is just... Of all the sequels, I think, of 2019, this has to be one of the worst performances out of all of them. Even worse than Secret Life of Pets 2. And I thought that was the worst. Nope. This is far worse. Because it's been out for 24 days. Think about that. In 24 days, it has made less than what the original Angry Birds movie did in 3 days. Yes. So that first Angry Birds movie made more in 3 days than this one is made in 24 days. It's only made about a third, which is horrible for a sequel. And worldwide, it's not much better. So, yeah, this movie's a bomb. No question about it. I'm kind of glad it bombed, even though people were like, oh, it's so much better than the original. It's so much better. This movie shouldn't have existed at all. Heck, the Angry Birds movie shouldn't have existed at all. But the only reason why people even watched that movie was because of a little thing known as a curiosity. People were curious about that movie because they're like, an Angry Birds movie? That sounds so weird and stupid, but I kind of want to see it just to see what it looks like. And, I've seen this plenty of times where the only reason why people watch a movie is because they're just curious about its existence. The Emoji Movie, that the only reason why people even watched that was it was either because of dumb kids or curiosity. Other movies like the Scooby-Doo movie from like the early 2000s, or the Michael Bay Ninja Turtle movies, or the Transformers movies. Well, not really Transformers, because those were successful, at least for a while. But Ninja Turtles and Scooby-Doo and all of them, the reason why they were successful is because they had a curiosity factor. But when the sequels came out, the sequels tanked. The sequel tanked for Scooby-Doo, the sequel tanked for Bay Turtles, and the sequel tanked for Angry Birds 2. So, for all studios out there, if you're going to make a sequel to a movie that... Actually, here's what you actually should do. Make a good first movie. Focus on the quality of the first one. Make sure it's good. And then you make a sequel. You don't make a bad movie and then make a sequel and expect people to just... who hated that first movie to just automatically watch the second movie. That's not how it works. Okay, Transformers and Twilight were able to get away with it. But not every movie can, so just a warning. But yeah, that was Angry Birds 2. What's next? The Art of Racing in the Rain. Yeah, I didn't think this movie would do well at all. I'm not surprised. And this is another casualty from Fox. Ever since like the Disney-Fox merger, it's been going terrible for them. I mean, the only movie that's done decent for them was Breakthrough, and that's it. Like Dark Phoenix was a disaster, lost over $100 million. Stuber was a flop, and this was a flop. Ad Astra's not looking too good when it comes to predictions. Maybe Ford versus Ferrari will save them. Maybe that'll be the one where it actually makes some money. But so far, this Disney-Fox deal isn't going too good. What's next? Ready or Not. This actually did better than I thought. Heck, it'll make more money than Midsommar, which is something I didn't expect. Because I'm like, oh, this is like, again, from Fox Searchlight, a.k.a., Fox Disney and whatnot. They're not going to push it very hard. And they pushed it okay-ish. They did a decent job. with it. And as a result, it's made a decent amount of money. I mean, it's not a huge amount, but it's still alright for the low budget movie that it is. So, yeah. I guess that's that. And then there's Overcomer. Again, it was no War Room. Definitely not. But again, for the low budget movie that it is, that's still pretty okay. So there's not much to complain here. 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. I had a feeling this movie wouldn't do particularly well because I didn't do too much research on this. I thought, oh, it's just a sequel, whatever. I don't need research for this. But then I realized that this sequel had nothing to do with the original, so why would you even call it a sequel at all? That's like what they did with Troll and Troll 2, where Troll 2 had nothing to do with the original, but they called it Troll 2 in order to make just a tad bit more money. And they did the same thing here, and it didn't really work out because it only made like half of its predecessor. So yeah, another sequel bites the dust. And the amount of sequels that have bit the dust this year has been absolutely insane. And people thought 2016 was the death of sequels. 2019 is the definite death. Next up, ooh, this one's The Kitchen. What can I say? This movie was a disaster. Melissa McCarthy, her career is essentially over. I mean, if she can't get that Ursula gimmick, then she should just give up entirely. Tiffany Haddish's career is not doing well either, and Elizabeth Moss's career is officially a non-starter. So yeah, no one looks good out of this. It only made $11 million on a $38 million budget. That's horrible. No excuse. It's a disaster. And it's one of the many casualties that came out of Warner Brothers this year. And I think we're about to get to another category, another movie right here. Boom! Another one in that flop category for Warner Brothers. Blinded by the Light. And sure, this movie had great reviews. Sure, people said, oh, it's so good. But here's the thing. Nobody cared. Especially when the whole premise of the movie just feels like people are just like, wait a minute, didn't we already see this movie? Oh yeah, it was called Yesterday, which came out like 2 months before this. But the thing about that, the reason why that was successful is because the music that was focused on in that movie was about the freaking Beatles. Everyone knows who the Beatles are. No one knows who Bruce Springsteen is. Okay? At least majority of the population does not know who Bruce Springsteen is. And I know I'm probably going to get some hate for saying that, but that's just the truth. If you go up to a random person and say, which one do you recognize? The Beatles or Bruce Springsteen? Pretty much everyone's going to say the Beatles. I'm sorry, but that's how it is. Okay? And as a result, no one saw it. So, I may sound extremely harsh, but hey, I'm just being truthful here. What's next? Peanut Butter Falcon. That was in limited release. It's done okay, I think. I don't know. But yeah, oh well, I didn't make a prediction for that, so I can't say much about it. Where'd you go, Bernadette? I saw this coming from a mile away. There was like literally no advertising until the last second. Oh, suddenly you just see YouTube ads pop up like the week before it comes out. And the reviews were trash, and as a result the box office was trash. Only 8 million total. So there's not much to say. It's just a bomb. And then you got Brian Banks, a movie that I knew was going to do bad. And it did. It actually did worse than I thought. Only $4 million, which is horrible. And even in the thumbnail, I'm just like, this looks like a TV movie. You literally could have put this on TV and it would have made no difference. And then I was gonna do a prediction for Don't Let Go. Then I saw its box office, and I was just like, is it really worth doing a prediction video on that? But then I just was just like, no, it's not. It really isn't. But yeah, that's August. I know that was a lot, especially compared to July. But yeah, that's the whole month of August. And I already filmed and uploaded my It Chapter 2 box office prediction. But then after that, I have to officially start those. That's going to take some time because, again, there's going to be a lot of movies that I don't give a crap about, but I have to talk about anyway because they're on the freaking schedule. And the movie I wanted to talk about, The Hunt, had to get canceled because of all the controversy surrounding it. So, but yeah, make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. You want to go check out my past predictions for summer. I got 2 playlists, the blockbusters and the not blockbusters. I'm going to be starting a new playlist, the fall 2019 predictions. Started that just recently with It Chapter 2, so go check that out. And yeah, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, you know the drill. And I am out.